to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy. Here. Counsel Leary. Here. Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Milonazo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Counsel Elliott. 8 present.
Okay, the first order of business is, do we have any memorials? No? Okay, the first order of business is from the city clerk on the minutes of the zoning subcommittee of November 8th, the city council meeting of November 8th for acceptance. Chair will entertain a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Being before 7 o'clock, we'll skip ahead on the public hearings and go to communications from the city manager. This evening we have communications A through E. And the first one, A, is placing defibrillators. Is there any, Councilor Samaras?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I want to thank the city manager for this report. It does speak well about the city, stating that most of our public buildings do have defibrillators. That's good to know. And and to have a training program in which civilians will be trained along with the paraprofessionals and the fire department personnel and police personnel is great to know. One of the things in the report, it talked about the Lowell Housing Authority and their community centers not having defibrillators. Could I ask the manager if they could send a note to the head of the LRTA, Lowell Housing Authority, to look into putting defibrillators in their community halls? I think that would be worthwhile.
Mr. Manager?
Oh, Mr. Manager.
That was one of the first calls I made, and they're aware of it. They're going to follow up, make sure that they have the defibrillators, and if we need training, we'll be happy to help them with the training. It was, Fire Chief Winwood is here. He's the one who developed this.
Actually, could Fire Chief Winwood just give it an overview of what this program is all about, so the public will know? Thank you.
The city does have a large number of defibrillators now throughout the whole city. Some of the public buildings, a lot of the public buildings have defibrillators. All the public schools, UMass Lowell has a program to get one in each building. All the public safety officials in the city have one in their vehicles, the police cruisers, the different police agencies, the fire department, the ambulance, the paramedics. So geographically, we're a small city. We do have a lot of defibrillators, and they're very important in case someone does go into cardiac arrest. And we can get to these people very quickly, and speed is the key when it comes to cardiac arrest, CPR, and defibrillators. And another important point is to provide training to people and to make sure these defibrillators are kept up, the batteries are working, and the pads that we attach to people's chest are within 2 years of age. If anybody has any questions on defibrillators, I'll be glad to answer them now. I also have our EMS coordinator from the fire department, Lieutenant Sean Reddy, with us, if anyone has any questions.
No, thank you, Mr. Manager, and thank the fire chief for this explanation. I think it's important for our constituents to realize how some of the money is spent, and that safety of all our people is a paramount issue. And to have a program like this, I think, is something that we can be proud of. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item A? Councilor Leahy.
One quick question, through you to the chief. Could you just talk about the batteries again? What's the batteries have to be kept up?
Sure, I'll let Lieutenant Reddy speak on that.
Okay.
Sure. Each unit, the lifespan of the pads is about 2 years. They have to be, and these units have to be maintained and checked. They should be on a monthly program at least. Every year I go around, I change out the batteries, test them, upgrade them. The price of the batteries for replacement on the AED Pros, which is what the fire department has, is a little over $100. On the AED Pluses, it's about $60, okay? The majority of the units, like I said, we have are the Pros, but throughout the city, we have the Pluses, which are a cheaper unit to maintain. They're all a great unit.
Right, okay. But I'm glad to hear you said you do check them monthly and then the batteries are signed.
On the fire trucks, they get checked daily.
Oh, okay. What do we do with the city buildings? Are those on a schedule too?
Some of those units are assigned to me.
Okay.
And I've just finished, I just completed some more today. We're pretty much done with everything that I'm responsible for. The school department, I believe, has an outside agency that comes in, and I believe there's over 40 units with the school department, and those have been done under contract for years.
And they're every 6 months.
Right.
Okay. All right, no, that's good to just, to peace of mind that we are checking.
Yeah, there
up
is an
on-
expense, though.
Yeah, oh,
That
yeah.
comes out of the fire department budget for the ones that we cover.
Okay,
And, you know, we have to maintain it, and something that we have to have money
yeah,
allocated for. That's it.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on item A? Counselor Mercia.
I'd sure feel a lot safer if we had one in this building in the immediate area. Oh,
We do, Counselor.
It's all up to date.
And where is it?
It's
Down the stairway.
right next to the ATM, so you can get some cash if you need it
Wouldn't
as
take
well.
long to get it here. All right.
I think the city manager had that one installed and made sure it was updated.
Any further discussion on item A? If not, we'll move to item B, Upham Street. Any discussion on item B?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you to the city manager for addressing that problem for that woman. Thank you so much.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to item C, the Plain Street realignment. Any discussion on item C? Counselor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager, just, so the report says that we're pretty close to finalizing this with Watermark as having a final design by February, is it, or March?
Yes, you know, we've been negotiating for a long time so that we didn't have to take any land from the VFW because they have some plans for developing that, and we wanted to make sure that we cooperated with them. So we've been able to work that out, and now Watermark is finalizing the entranceway to Tanner Street. So yes, it's good news that we've reached some agreements and we can move forward now.
Oh, good. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion on item C? If not, we'll move on to item D, Joanne and Drew Weber Way. Counselor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some weeks ago, it was suggested that the city and the university form a consensus and work in harmony for the good of everyone involved. And I agreed that this was the best course for all of us to take. So you can imagine my surprise and disappointment in receiving the communication in my packet responding to my motion to name the entranceway that abuts the Spinner Stadium in UMass Lowell's garage to honor Joanne and Drew Weber. UMass Lowell's response was that the right-of-way is UMass Lowell property, and they expressed reluctance to name the way on their property. First off, is UMass Lowell reluctant to collect all the money that pours into the garage from the fans that go to LaLasha Park for the Spinners games that was made popular by the very people that we want to honor? And furthermore, the property that UMass Lowell owns is state property. Last I knew, the taxpayers that pay state taxes are the state. I could very easily appeal to our state legislators, Tom Golden, Dave Nagel, and Ratty Mom, to overturn this request. And you know what? They would not refuse this request, knowing the people that we want to name that after. But UMass Lowell, you can keep your precious no-name walkway. We'll find some other place without their help and cooperation. So much for harmony, so much for getting off on the right foot. Maybe next time when you come before this body, I will be the one reluctant to look at your request. And I'm very disappointed, Mr. Manager. They don't seem to want to budge in that respect, and I was very disappointed to see that.
Mr. Manager.
I did get an email subsequent to this, and they did say that there is a process, and they're still pursuing the process, you know, but we decided we needed to move on, and we're going to have a space right next to it. You can
Well,
see in
when
the
they
picture.
come before us, Mr. Manager, there's a process here too, and we'll make them wait and wait and wait and wait and see how they like it, because there's no cooperation here. It's their way or the highway, and you know that they don't want to pay in lieu of taxes. They don't have to. They don't have to do what they don't want to do, but that's, as far as I'm concerned, state land. It's a piece of state property. the state legislators could probably have overturned that in less time than they think that they're going to take to decide what they're going to do. Maybe they want to name it after, I don't know who, but anyway, it's just ridiculous that they made a big deal out of reluctance to, there's so much red tape. Isn't that amazing?
Mr. Manager.
So there is an entranceway to the park right next to this, and we will be putting a sign there, naming it after the Webbers, and we will have a grand opening at the beginning of the baseball season.
It's kind of unbelievable because they're putting it on their own property. They're naming it on their own property. It's just mind-boggling to me that they want cooperation and we don't have any harmony here. I'm just disappointed with the whole process. It's a very simple request that they could have reached out. They did the same thing to Decatur Way when they were trying to get that little piece of dead land to make that turn, and the university had so much red tape. I don't know. I mean, they want our land, but they wouldn't give us a piece of property that means nothing to them, but it means a lot to us. I don't know. I'm just disappointed.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on item D? If not, we'll move on to item E, which is informational, the school building repair. Mr. Manager?
Yes, as pursuant to the joint subcommittee on school facilities, is that we wanted to give the council an update on what we're doing relative to school building repairs. Assistant City Manager Mike McGovern is intimately involved in this process. They meet on a monthly basis. They prioritize what work has to be done. And I think the Department of Public Works, especially through Mr. Green's department, have done an admirable job keeping up as best they can with their limited resources on these school building repairs. We'll be continuing to make sure that we follow up with the priorities in an expeditious manner, and we'll continue to meet on a monthly basis to make sure that we keep our school buildings in good repair.
Any further discussion? Councilor Leary.
Just real quick, I know we had a motion in response regarding modular classrooms and the cost. I don't know, Mayor, if you have any updates, or manager, regarding space and any financial issues that we may be presented with. I know they're working on that right now, but I think when we're developing the budget and planning on it, we should be really knowing about that now as opposed to like in the first or second quarter of next year. I don't know if that's changed at all, Mayor, or are we still in the same position that we were in?
As far as looking for additional space, we're still negotiating with a couple of locations for the additional space, but there's really nothing much more to report than that. The negotiations are still are ongoing, and I'm hopeful that one of them at least will work out, but we won't know that probably for several more weeks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Leahy.
Just while we're under the manager's portion, could I just ask the manager on an update on one item? We got some emails about the Melrose Street area, and I know I got the update, but just for informational, we're a little behind on the paving on that section of town, and that's scheduled for next paving season in 17. So we all saw the email. I just want to make sure that it gets out publicly, because a couple of people thought it was going to get done this year, and it's not. So we are still on top of it, and we're looking at that Melrose Street area, so.
We'll make sure that is a priority for the spring season too.
Yeah, as long as we get to it. They were just looking for us this year, and we didn't make it there, so.
We'll
Okay.
we'll make it a priority.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on item E? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to accept and file all the communications from the city manager. We have a motion to that effect from Council Leary, seconded by Council Leahy. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have a communication correspondence from the LTC regarding an update of the LTC board and members for the city council and the manager's appointees. We have a motion to accept and place on file by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have a communication from the Planning Board recommending recommendation with respect to a proposed amendment extending the existing general industrial zoning district to include an area presently zoned high-rise commercial comprising an area of 59,945 square feet off Industrial Ave. Chair would entertain a motion to accept the communication and place it on file by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have a communication from the city manager requesting out-of-state travel for one person from the Lowell Police Department and the mayor and one other person. We have a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott. 8 yeas.
Next, we have votes from the city manager. We have a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a limited access agreement at 91 Arlene Road. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading. Authorizing the city manager to execute a limited access agreement between the city of Lowell and Peter Ty and Julie Sock relative to 91 Arlene Road. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Samaras, seconded by Council Milonazo. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott. 8 yeas.
Next, we have a motion authorizing the city manager to execute a limited access agreement at 85 Arlene Road. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading, authorizing the city manager to execute a limited access agreement between the city of Lowell and James W. Stone, or his authorized representative relative to 85 Arlene Road. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Milonazo. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott. 8 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to apply, accept, and expend the amount of $1.2 million from FEMA's Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program to replace an aging ladder fire truck and rescue truck. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading, go to the second reading. Authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend an assistance to firefighter grant, the firefighter grant program offered through the Federal Emergency Management Agency in the amount of $209.91 for the City of Lowell Fire Department. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Leahy. Discussion on the motion. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question to the chief, if I could. This is, actually excellent news for the new apparatus. I remember reading in a motion response a few months ago about turnout gear. Is there any update on the department getting, new turnout gear, or what's going on as far as grants for that?
Sure. This grant you're voting on tonight is last year's grant for the 2 trucks. The grant application period is open right now, and this week we're going to be finalizing our application, and we're going to be applying for new turnout gear for every member of the department, as well as about 94 SCBA's for all of our trucks.
And this is the same grant again, right?
It's the same grant, but it goes on year to year, and we'll find out probably sometime between next spring and next summer if we get those grants as well.
Right. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott. 8 yeas.
Next, we have an order from the city manager requesting a 60-day trial at various locations. If there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading, go to the second reading pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances in the City of Lowell, Massachusetts concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott. 8 yeas.
Next, we have subcommittee reports. Are there any subcommittee reports? Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a follow-up to our zoning subcommittee meeting of last Tuesday, I did have a conversation with Anne Marie Page over the weekend. As you know, Anne Marie's president of the citywide neighborhood group, and she's asked that we have a meeting on a Saturday morning, and we'd be inviting all of the various neighborhood groups to attend the zoning subcommittee. So I did mention it to Council Rourke and Council Belanger, the other members of the zoning subcommittee, and we are open to that. So I'm just waiting to hear back from Anne Marie as a possible date. It may happen before Christmas, but it may go into the new year based upon people's schedule. Again, we want to be very transparent about this. We obviously want the city administration, especially Eric Slagle and his staff involved in the meeting as well. So we're going to work around everyone's schedule, but it could be that the next meeting would be some Saturday morning. Place to be determined. That's my
Thank you,
report.
Councilor. Are there any other subcommittee reports? Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to schedule a transportation subcommittee for December 13th at 5:30, please. I know at least one of the motions that was referred to the subcommittee was the Council Belanger's mobile modular motion from a few months back. And I believe, Mr. Clerk, there's one other one that hopefully can be added to the agenda that night.
Yeah, if there, I'll look, Council.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on subcommittee reports? Mr. Manager.
I think it was the transportation study that we had done by DPD relative to the LRTA and cars and parking and everything was referred to that subcommittee. It might be a good time to just look
Should we
into
put on the
that.
same night, Mr. Clerk, as the 13th, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Councilor. Moving on into petitions, we have one property claim. Chair would entertain a motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under miscellaneous, we have our request for the installation of one handicap parking sign at 116 Coben Street. The proper motion would be to refer to the traffic engineer for report and recommendation. We have a motion to that effect by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Mercia.
If I could amend it to be a 60-day trial.
Okay. No objection to the amendment for a 60-day trial? Hearing none, we will just accept the amendment. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a request for the installation of 4 30-minute parking spots at 226 Appleton Street. Once again, the proper motion would be to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, Next, we have a speaker. Mr. Kenneth Harkins requests permission to speak to the City Council regarding the water bill for St. George Greek Orthodox Church at 44 Princeton Boulevard. Mr. Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last time I was here to talk to the council, I was talking to you about a $30,000 water bill. And I was able to work that out with the mayor's office and Eric Geshner over at the water plant. And lo and behold, we turn around and we get a water bill for $1,100. And while I'm trying to work something out, it's got a $300 interest charge on it, so we got a bill for $1,400, which we paid because the interest is going to keep building while we're trying to resolve it. I want to thank Assistant City Manager Mike McGovern, Trudy, over at the Water Department for getting something set up so I can go to the Water Board and appeal it. But I don't like coming down to aggravate you about a water bill. Can we please do something to fix this? Because we've had no plumbers in there, no water leaks. We had the last plumber in was from the Water Department to put a new meter in after the last incident. And it stopped leaking for 2 days. Then it went intermittent. Then it went continuous until June 19th, and it magically quit. So we don't know if it's a problem with the meter. They say if anything going through the meter is legal. So I just want to say thank you for the people helping us to try to work a solution to this, but I don't want to have to come back down here again with the water bill. And if there's anyone listening out there, the only way you can solve a problem is come down and talk to the city councilors, go to the city clerk's office, tell them you want to talk to them. If you don't come and tell them, the city manager doesn't know you got a problem. They don't know you got a problem. You have to pick up the phone and call them or do something, but, you know, You can sit home and moan and groan in the easy chair and nothing gets done. Or you can come down and ask for help. And that's what I want. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Do we have a motion on the floor? Council Belanger? Okay. Mr. Manager?
Thank you for your kind words, and we are working with the church and the water board to resolve the issue that they have. And if anybody ever has, like you said, if anybody has issues like that, just contact us and we'll work with you to help resolve it.
Anything else from the council? If not, we'll move on to council motions. First motion of the evening is motion by Council Mercer, requests the city manager of the traffic engineer explore and find a solution to the parking of cars on both sides of Perry Street, closest to the Rogers Street end. Seconded by Council Milonazo. Council Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion is of a safety issue because I would like to refer this to the traffic engineer just to go down there and take a look, because I drove by the other day and I could barely get through with the cars parked on both sides, and people that live in the neighborhood are concerned about, like a fire engine coming through, a bigger vehicle like a rescue truck or whatever would never probably be able to make the turn there. So I'm concerned about parking on both sides. But let's just go back a ways when the condo complex on the corner of Rogers and Perry Street was built. And it was the understanding of the neighbors in that area that the condo units would be assigned parking spots within the complex. And now those cars seem to be out onto the street when they should have had adequate parking to begin with inside the complex. So now they're all on the street, and it makes it so much narrower now. Now, if we made that one way to benefit the condo side, the condo units are going to park all their cars there, and the people that live on the other side of the street that don't have any driveways, they're going to be stuck. So I'd like it to be sent to the traffic engineer to get what the best possible, solution would be. And I don't understand how people come before the different boards, they're going to build a condo unit development, and they agree that they're going to have so many parking spots within the perimeter of the inside of the condo units. And yet, once years go by, the plans are all down the tubes because the people are back out onto the street. Now, I've heard this issue brought up time and time again. I finally said, this is it. We have to come to some sort of an agreement to try to make it safe for people. I mean, I know it's the backside of their house, and they probably think it's easier to park there than to go into the development itself. I don't know what the solution is, but perhaps if it were me, I'd make it parking on one side, parking to the side where the people do not have driveways. But that's not up to me. I'm not the professional here. That would be up to the traffic engineer to take a look at that and give a best possible solution. I'm not saying it's all of Perry Street, which is quite lengthy, but I'm saying that it's the end towards the Rogers Street side. So that's what I just want to take a look at that from a professional pair of eyes there. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have a motion by Council Rourke and Council Leahy, request the city manager instruct the LPD to issue citations to vehicles that block the intersections throughout the city. Motion needs no second. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion from Council Leahy and I actually came about from a conversation we had on the council floor a few meetings ago concerning the traffic at some of the bridges in the city. And, I agree with Council Leahy that I think a lot of the problem has to do with cars that try to beat the lights and they actually block up the intersections, which causes the opposite way not to move. Then now you're stuck, and it keeps going back and forth. So my suggestion, Mr. Manager, if possible, some of those electronic signs that we use to, promote with a vote or things like that, what's going on in the city, if we could place some of those at certain of the busiest intersections in the city, and then at that point, start ticketing these people that that block traffic. I mean, when you get in there and you sit there for the whole light cycle and you can't move, I mean, I see it at the Rourke Bridge, I see it over at the Howe Bridge all the time, at University Crossing, downtown, at the Bridge Street area. It's just, I think it's, like almost like the hidden reason why we have so many traffic backups is people just try to beat that light and they end up sitting in the middle of an intersection for an entire light cycle. So if we could stop by electronic signage at first, and then maybe have an officer there that could, ticket some of these people that do that. I understand, it's an expensive ticket to block an intersection, but I think for the quality of life that, it's always been traffic and parking, right? So if this can be alleviated at all by some signage and then by ticketing, probably be able to solve the city's budget problem, number one, and then hopefully, with the traffic, we'll be able to lighten the load as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Thank you. No, same thing here, just what drives you crazy, especially through the downtown area, is that everybody's trying to beat the light, and they don't care if they're blocking the intersection as long as they make it across. So until we come up with a solution with either more smart lights or synchronization, write them a ticket if they're blocking the intersection, because it's just not fair that the other people have to sit there and miss their whole light cycle. So whatever we can do would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. Being a few minutes after 7 o'clock, we'll go back to item 2.1, which is the public hearing scheduled for this evening. The public hearing is to consider amending the zoning and extending the GI district on the north side of Industrial Avenue. And we'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor. Does anybody wish to speak in favor?
Hello, everybody. Sandy McNamara, taxpayer of the city of Lowell. And I sit here week after week, and I am thrilled with the issue that someone is actually taking a piece of property and is going to use it for parking cars, instead of somebody coming forward to build a 600 and some odd unit apartment complex that's going up very close by. So again, I think it's a fabulous idea, and I hope you pass it through. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wish to speak in favor?
Ken Harkins, 110 Bigelow Street. I'm right around the corner from Jervis. This young fellow don't know, but I bought my first car from his father in Bill Rickup, and it's just Dave McQuaid and his father and the mechanic running the shop. Nice to see you made it. I didn't come down to speak on this until I run into him, and I said, gee. But he's right around the corner from me, and I given over 10 gallons of blood, and he's always been available for us there to give blood. So I would like to have you approve it, but put a restriction on it. He has to leave me a room so I can give blood there.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor?
What is the agenda item?
The agenda item is to amend an ordinance in the city of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Chapter 290 thereof entitled zoning by extending the existing GI zoning district to include a parcel of land located on the north side of Industrial Avenue.
Good evening. I'm Sam Polton. I reside at 16 Berkeley Drive in Chelmsford, but I own property at 61 Market Street in Lowell and run a small business at 243 Central Street in Lowell. I think that we have a unique opportunity, and I know the council in its wisdom will be able to both extend this zoning to benefit an excellent business in the city so that they can not only sell more cars, employ more people, but continue to do the enormous good that they do. I know firsthand what the family does for the Salvation Army and others. Countless charities rely on them. I think this is one of the businesses that truly make Lowell what it is. I also understand concerns that there may be in the future concerning something that's right in the town of Chelmsford, a rail path, a bike path, something such as that. And I know looking out at the council and the manager, the planning board, and all the people involved, that a solution can be found that will not only help the business, but make sure that anything that comes down in the future can be accommodated. So I am strongly in favor of doing this because it's good for the city. It's eventually going to be good for the environment. And most importantly, I think it's the right thing to do. We have an opportunity to come to a solution, and I strongly urge this be done that way. Just an outstanding family and outstanding business.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition?
Good evening. My name is Kristen Sykes. I'm the Director of Conservation Strategies for the Appalachian Mountain Club at 5 Joy Street in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm also the Director of Operations for the Bay Circuit Alliance. The Appalachian Mountain Club was founded in 1876 and promotes the protection, enjoyment, and understanding of the mountains, forests, waters, and trails of America's Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic region. The Bay Circuit Alliance, which I'm the Director of Operations of, works to steward, protect, and promote the Bay Circuit Trail and Greenway. The Bay Circuit Trail and Greenway is a 230-mile trail beginning at Plum Island, Newburyport, making a big crescent sea around Boston and ending at Duxbury, Kingston. The trail provides close-to-home recreational opportunities for millions of people living in and around eastern Massachusetts. After many years of hard work by people like Jane Calvin at the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust, the good folks of the Bruce Freeman Trail, and the city of Lowell, we are on the cusp of closing one of the last remaining gaps in this 230-mile trail in one of the most populated parts of Massachusetts. I'm hopeful that if the zoning changes approved tonight for the Jarvis Outer Group, that there will be an easement also provided to allow a rail trail, a critical link between the Concord River Greenway and the Bruce Freeman Trail, and the completion of the Bay Circuit Trail, a trail which has been envisioned for almost 100 years. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition?
Hi, I'm Lori Weed, and I'm actually a lecturer at the University of Massachusetts Lowell in the Environmental, Earth, and Atmospheric Sciences Department. It's the longest titled department, I think, in the whole school. But I've had the privilege of working with Jane Calvin and the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust for the last 5 years through my environmental geochemistry class. And we've actually tested the waters of River Meadow Brook and more recently Clay Pit Brook, and it's been a wonderful experience for my students. I speak now to the beauty of the city of Lowell. I'm a graduate from UMass Lowell, class of 2000, and I speak with great pride of this particular city. Jane and the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust have made incredible strides over the last decades to make it the beautiful greenway and so forth. Lowell is a very unique place simply because of its history. Lowell is here because of the geology, and I love rocks, so I can tell you all about that. But more importantly, Lowell is here because of the canalways and because of the rivers and because of what was Hales Brook, which is now River Meadow Brook. It's my hope that we'll be able to keep the history and keep the beauty of this city alive and add to it by adding this easement to allow for the River Meadow Brook and the trail to really take advantage of this wonderful city. The other concern I have as somebody who does test water is that I always do worry about the addition of industry and runoff and adding to the brook, which has been perfectly wonderful since my students have been testing it. So, and we have papers that have been written for the last 6 years, my students, and I have a couple of them actually in the room with me right now who wrote fantastic papers that we're able to share with Jane. So it's been both an educational experience and also a wonderful experience. So that's really all I wanted to say is just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition?
My name is Sharon Kalpin. I'm a Chelmsford and Lowell rep to the Friends of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, which is the organization that is working to get the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, keep it going, keep it under construction. been working on it for many years and have been working with Jane Calvin also. It is our goal to connect to the Concord River Greenway, and then, because that would have to go through some other properties, but it would be wonderful to have the rail trail continue from Cross Point up this section of abandoned railroad. As the rep for Chelmsford and Lowell, I can't tell you how many phone calls I get from people that don't know how to access it, because it's at the far end of the Cross Point property. They can't find it. And so they call me and say, how do I get there? And they aren't always from Lowell. They come from Boston and all around. It would be a great link and a safe way to go from Chelmsford to Lowell and back and forth. And the other thing is that our board, and I believe Lowell Parks and Conservation, we are very willing, I believe, they're voting on it tonight, as to whether they would be willing to raise money to purchase the right-of-way. It wasn't available to us years ago when we first looked into it, but now it is, and we are willing to help fundraise for that purchase if it became necessary. If the zoning gets passed, we very much hope that there will be consideration given for an easement for the trail, because it would be a marvelous link. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition?
My name is Paul Marion. I live at 44 Highland Street. I'm the president of the Lowell Heritage Partnership. We're an alliance of people who are committed to historic preservation, cultural conservation, and environmental protection. Some of you know us as the Canal Way Lighting Gang. The Heritage Partnership wants to see the Jarvis Company expand and prosper. It's a well-respected business. It's my car dealer. I have 2 cars that are serviced there. Not long ago, my wife and I were there for a fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club. We saw Councilor Mercier driving a nice Lincoln. The Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust is one of the outstanding community organizations. There's a reason that they have almost 1,000 members. Their advocacy work is exemplary. Their follow-through is exceptional. Tomorrow night, they're going to be unveiling a restored Bunker Hill honor roll that took 3 years to, it's a project took 3 years to complete. It has the names of all of the Minutemen from Drake, Chelmsford, Tewksbury, and Billerica listed. It's an extraordinary document, and came with the Spalding House, which they run on Pawtucket Street. I'm here for the Heritage Partnership tonight, not as much to oppose the proposed action as to ask for a timeout to allow all the parties involved to balance the interests of each concerning the land use. My understanding is that, it's not a lot of feet involved in trying to make the trail happen. The anticipated use of the land for a recreational trail has been a community expectation for some time, as has been mentioned. It's not a recent idea. So we would encourage the manager, the mayor, the council, to bring the parties together and to try to come to a resolution that's a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Jane Calvin. I'm the executive director of the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust. I'm very ambivalent standing here in the opposition category, because I have every encouragement that we've got support to make this a win-win. I haven't heard the details though, so I'd love to hear some more about that. I just want to give you a little bit of an understanding of the history that's gone into where we're at with this section of the trail and why it's so critical. I'm thankful for the folks that have come here to try and connect the dots, but it really has been a vision for quite a while. In 2008, we had a big community meeting because Pan Am proposed the sale of the entire corridor behind the Target. And at that point, we prioritized saving the section that goes under the Lowell connector, and for the purpose of this trail connection. In 2010, we started doing public walks with a variety of partners, including most recently a Lowell Walks event that was well attended. Following on our work that we've done to help with the success of the Concord River Greenway, the River Meadow Brook corridor has been extensively researched. Professor Whedon's work has gone into that, but so has Mass Audubon's Ecological Extension Service. We have a full eco inventory of not just the Lowell section, but the entire 28 square mile area that River Meadow Brook drains, and River Meadow Brook is the primary tributary to the Concord River. It's not just a little trickling brook, it's a significant water body. We've also documented the land use history. We've got some clarification that some of the earliest history and mill works in the city was actually done on River Meadow Brook. And then the Concord River, and then it was brought to the Merrimack River. And then Mass Audubon also did some work on recreational access through this corridor. In 2012, the City Council voted as a body to support the Tanner Street Economic Development Plan, the Tanner Street Economic Development Plan happened in 2012, and in 2014, the council and the planning board followed on the heels of that with a vote that said there's been long-standing interest in creating a greenway along the River Meadow Brook, and it would provide a link to the Bruce Freeman Trail and the Concord River Greenway, an ongoing project that connects right downtown to the Merrimack River Trail. And then in 2015, the city was asked, just last year, the city was asked if the city would be interested in taking a bridge over River Meadow Brook. And the city's written response to that was that while the Greenway was ongoing, in order to make a connection to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, the city would need access to abandoned railroad parcels that connect with Industrial Ave. So there's a history where the city has taken votes to protect this corridor for access to make this trail connection. So like I said, I have every inclination that I think that there's probably a win-win here. If there's possibilities for an easement to be worked out, that would be wonderful. I know that the Jarvises have been wonderful community supporters of many nonprofits. And I don't want to get in the way of their economic opportunity to expand their work. I'm also greatly appreciative of all the work that, from what I understand, has gone on behind the scenes to possibly make a win-win happen. So I'm anxious to hear the details, and I appreciate you're willing to hear us out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition?
Hi, I'm Dr. Mindy Doppler-Nelson, public health scientist, founding member of the Lowell Bicycle Coalition, and a property owner and resident of Lowell. So from a public health perspective, I think it's important that we encourage people to use the trails. One of the common complaints that I hear is that people don't feel safe accessing the trails because they can't get there in a safe manner. And if you want to improve people's health, the best thing to do is to get them moving, to get them eating properly. And this has nothing to do with the eating properly part, but we don't want to set up a barrier by creating a scenario where people cannot access trails and utilize them in the best way possible, and to get as many people as possible using them. To echo what everybody has said, I think that an easement, something that would still allow a win-win situation, would be ideal. But I think that we would want to be progressive in getting the connections met so that we can eventually bring the Bruce Freeman Trail into the downtown area and be able to have greater access for everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition.
I'm at Hewitt 499 Wilder Street. I'm not really speaking in opposition of changing the zoning law for this building to go in. I think it'd be a great project. The area is undeveloped, stuff like that. But from what I understand from the past hearing, past reading in the papers and that, it's going to be a privately built building. And what I'm against is any infrastructure work to go with this thing, the parking lots, the road, the access, the exit. I don't think the taxpayer should be picking up the tab on that. These builders want to build this building. I'd have no problem with that, but if they're going to build it with private money, they should build all their infrastructure with private money. That goes on all existing projects that are in the city now. If you're going to be making money, you can build your infrastructure. You should have your exits. You should have your traffic system set up and build it yourself. It shouldn't be under the city's cost, because these are being built by private companies, And we shouldn't be paying the bill for them to have an entrance, an exit, any type of road construction that has to be designed, any plumbing that doesn't come off our utilities. Our utilities go to a certain spot, and they should be responsible to bring the utilities into their building, as well as the parking lots and the streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition? Opposition, opposition, opposition. Hearing none, we'll close the hearing and open it up to the city council. Council Leary.
Just, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming in, but I'd really like to hear from Attorney Nyman, because I know, working through you, Mr. Manager, we've been looking for that win-win opportunity. You and I have been talking about this for a good solid week and a half in terms of how do we make this advantageous to both the recreational rail trail as well as a really good business in the city. And I know you've had a lot of conversations, and I know we have a design up here that we really should be walked through, I guess, in terms of what does that mean. Ultimately, Mr. Leahy and I put the most recent motion regarding River Meadowbrook on the surface because we like to see the rail trail, because it's not only recreational, but it's also a boon economically. It's also a boon from the standpoint of the Concord Greenway, where we just secured a $1.3 million grant. So I think it's a good thing to see where we are in terms of our discussions and what this really means and where we go from here tonight. So I don't know if this really, I guess if Attorney Nyman could kind of lay out where we are and you could support like where we are and what your recommendations are.
Well, Mr. Manager.
Would you like me to walk you through this depiction? Okay, hold on. Can everybody see this? Basically, the parcel of land that is proposed to be purchased by Jarvis, the petitioner, is this parcel of land that's outlined in yellow. And as you can see, it's from the train, because that's why it's rectangular like that. The dealership is right here. This is the Jarvis dealership. What we would look for, this is where, and this right here is Industrial Avenue, and that's where the connection to the rail trail or the bike trail would begin. Jarvis has proposed to give us an easement on this part of the parcel, all the way up to this triangle. But because of space requirements, they say they cannot give us an easement across this part of their parcel from this triangle all the way to Industrial Ave. So there's no connection between here and the easement that they propose to give us. We've been trying to negotiate to see if we can get an easement on this parcel, but apparently the petitioner, and I've talked to Attorney Nyman about it, they don't have room there to give us the easement. There is an entity known as AvCarb, which is right adjacent to this parcel here. I have not talked to them, but I would be inclined to reach out to this particular entity to see if they would be amenable to granting us an easement so that along this part that we would be able to come down here and then connect into the easement that Jarvis is giving us on the rest of the property. So it is a way of trying to resolve the issue by me reaching out to this abutting parcel. I think it's a very well-maintained business right along Industrial Ave on the right there. And I've got the contact information, I got it from the assessor, but if we could get an easement here on the AvCarb property, then we'd be able to have that trail joined all the way from Industrial Ave to here, which would then bring it all the way under the connector and down to the end of the parcel. So that is a way of trying to reach an agreement, is for me to reach out to AvCarb and see if they would give us an easement on that particular part of their property.
Council Leary.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's an excellent outline. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Jarvis family. That's very thoughtful, because that's a significant chunk of size what we're looking for. I guess what I would ask through you, Mr. Mayor, to Attorney Nyman, what time frames do you need to have this done in order to meet whatever goals or deadlines that are required?
Attorney Nyman.
very much, sir. I apologize for not speaking when you said people in favor. I thought it was going to be set up differently, and I was anticipating something different. My fault. I apologize, and I appreciate you giving me the courtesy of speaking to you. Basically, if I could just give you a little bit of background, Jarvis, as you know, has been in Lowell been in business for 63 years. They employ over 115 people, and they have several car dealerships. They pay over $200,000 a year in real estate taxes, and they just bought the Volkswagen dealership from Matamian in Tewksbury about a year ago. They moved it over to their current location, and they got an agreement with Volkswagen that said, we'll give you the franchise, but you have to do two things. You have to build 2 more buildings on your property, one for repair and a different, larger sales building, and you have to have larger space for the storage of the new vehicles. You all know the area. There is no land that my client could purchase for the new vehicles. He's been dealing with the railroad for over a year, over 2 years, and finally he struck an arrangement with them. They agreed to sell him 2 acres of land for approximately $200,000. That acreage of land is nothing more than located on the rail trail with the broken rails and trains not running anymore, and that was the land that was available. When he entered into the agreement, we checked the zoning and we found out that we needed to change the zoning of the railroad track to what we're seeking now. That's why we're here. If we can't get this zoning amendment, Jarvis will be told by Volkswagen to close your dealership in Lowell and to move it to Westford or Chelmsford or to Billerica.
So what time frame do you have to make that decision? Is that sometime in December, or is that January? What time?
Well, we have a time limit of December 18th to purchase the property. Now, during that period of time, we went before the planning board. We explained all of this before the planning board. Our engineer is here today. He went through all of the plans. The planning board voted to recommend to the city council that the zoning change be allowed. We spoke at the planning board with the representatives of the opposition, so to speak, and told them what our problem was, told them that we wanted to work with them, told them we would try to help them out. We offered them a 1-acre parcel of the property, which we do not have before you tonight for rezoning. And we told them that we would give them that land in order for them to have an easement to go across 1 acre of property at no charge to get part of the way and to get going. We had our engineers check our 1/2 of the property. We can't do it. There's not enough space. It's not wide enough. We need 124 cars. We're going to be able to get them in. We don't have the space for what they want. But we've told them that we'd cooperate with them. We then had some conversation with the city manager, with the law department, with Eric Slagle. We've been trying to do something with them, but physically it's not there. We've agreed that in the event they were able to get some other property near there, that we would contribute some additional money to allow them or the city to be able to take the funds. We have entered into a written agreement with the city for that purpose that indicated that we would pay this, that we want them to go. This isn't a we're for you, we're against you. This is something where there's got to be a way for them to get it. Now, there's the land that City Manager Murphy talked about that is a large parking lot, and that part of the land abuts our part of the land where the railroad track is, and you can see that on that plan. It was suggested by us that they contact that company, that they ask them if they would give them, an easement to work it out. I know that the city manager has had some conversation, the engineering department has had it, and that there's an intention by the city to approach those people and see if they can get 4 to 6 feet of space, the back space, which doesn't appear to interfere with their operation at all, and then run it to the end of the parcel that we're asking you to rezone. And then they could hook into the other parcel that we intend to give, and then they would be all squared away. I don't know what else we can do. We can't, if we don't buy the railroad property, nobody's going to buy it because the railroad's not going to give it away. And we were told in our negotiations with the railroad that the persons who opposed us today had been negotiating with them and were talking to them for quite a period of time, and we were led to believe that they had no money and they were basically looking to get the property without paying for it. We're paying for it. We're going to be using it. We're going to be paying taxes. We're going to be hiring people. We're going to be managing it. And we're also going to help the opposition group to get help and assistance to set up something so that they will have what they're looking for. The railroad has been empty for a long time. The railroad hasn't paid any taxes. It's not assessed taxes. We're going to pay taxes on it. We're going to improve it. We're going to build it. And while we're doing this, we want to stay with that group to see what we can do with them. And that's why we signed an agreement with the city manager indicating that we would do that. And we said that if we were able to acquire the property and get the zoning, that we would then be bound by staying with them and working with them. That's the reason we're doing it. We've got 40 people that we don't want to lose jobs. We've got a reputation. Peter Georges is here. Someone mentioned that he got an award for the Salvation Army. He was an outstanding person. They're outstanding people in the city of Lowell. Their word is good, and not only is their word good, that we put in writing that their word was good, that we would cooperate. Respectfully, we comply with everything with respect to the zoning. We're asking for the approval, and just because we get the approval doesn't mean that we're not going to keep working with them to help them get what they need. And where it's in a butter, we will work with them. We also mentioned that we would, when we acquired it and when we gave them the easement for the property, we would give them whatever plans we had in our possession to make it easier for them. But this is life and death as far as Jarvis is concerned with respect to Volkswagen. And I think we've complied with everything that the zoning requires. And I really believe that we're going to be of great assistance to the city in helping to get them what they need. Kevin Murphy has been terrific. He's been accessible. Eric Slagle's been good. Mike Geary has been helping us. We've just had great cooperation with the city, and we are cooperating with them. Basically, I'm seeking, a vote in favor, and we will continue to pursue what they are looking for. And if I can just say one thing, we have the engineer here, and if you have any questions about any of the technical issues, with all respect, Mr. Mayor, is that all right?
No, it's not all right. The hearing's closed.
Okay,
and
thank you.
All you're really supposed to do is
That was-
answer
was
Council
my,
Levy's question.
my question. Thank you, though.
Okay, thank you.
You did an excellent job. No question, I think, through my conversations to you, Mr. Manager, that, Peter Jarvis specifically and Attorney Nyman have bent over backwards trying to reach this agreement. They have been, quite frankly, very generous. The way you've pointed that out is the most clearest way I've seen it. So I'm very thankful, and I think there's no question of their positive to the city and the surrounding area. I think at this point, what we need to do is go out to the abutter, and for the love of God, I pass it every day in a car, and I can't remember the name of it. Discuss it with them in terms of getting that connection. And I think that's a positive thing for the city. So the question I asked Attorney Nyman was, what time frame do we need to make this done so we can make sure we have a win-win situation? And that's December 18th. So I would make a motion at this point that we delay it no further than December 6th. If we could do it quicker, we would do that to get that recommendation in so we can satisfy both sides of this issue and ultimately get an economic win for Mr. Jarvis, who's a solid stand-up citizen, as well as create down the road economic opportunity with this rail trail, which ultimately comes as well. And I think we can still be very successful in achieving both. Narrow, but very successful in doing that. So I make that as a form of a motion.
Motion to delay action until December 6th?
And second.
No later
Or
than
sooner
December
if you can achieve it by the next meeting.
Okay, second by Council Lay. On the motion, Council Mercia.
Well, I was going to second it, but I think it's in the best interest. Someone said it well, time out to balance the interest. I think everybody coming to the table here, the Jarvis family, without doubt, upstanding people, great contributors to the cause of the Salvation Army and so many good things that they do. Economic development, bringing it to the city and expanding it, that's second to none. That's a no-brainer. But I think there could be a balance here, and I think that's what we're looking for. So I wish you the best of luck. I hope the abutters, come through for us. That'd be great. Everybody will be happy. I always feel that there's good on every side, and so I can feel it. I feel lucky. I hope that it happens. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I want to thank Council Nyman for his presentation also. There are two issues here, I believe, and the two issues are, in Lowell, we want to see economic development, and especially we want to see companies that are good, that have been very good for the city of Lowell, to be able to have the ability to expand. But the second issue is that we need to ensure that we work on the quality of life in this city. And part of the quality of life in the city is having certain amenities. And one of those amenities is a walking trail. So, I do support the motion to delay any vote on this issue and give the city manager some time to see if he can seek, from another company, a variance to open up the walking trail. But, Mr. Manager, is there a possibility of looking at other entrances from Industrial Ave onto that trail also? In other words, could that be looked at while you're dealing with the second company?
Mr. Manager.
Since I live in that neighborhood, on the other side, I think it's just the brook, so it would be difficult to have it over the brook, or having the people walking through the brook. So we'll look at that, but I think the best way to do it is to go to the AvCarb company and try and get the entrance there. But we will look at all
I
possibilities.
just want to make sure that,
Yep.
it's worth it. This is an important motion too, and we want to make sure we have the right information. Thank you.
Council Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, that parcel that Mr. Jarvis is looking to buy, how long has that been sitting there? Like, how long since that trail has stopped at Chelmsford where the movie center is, and how long has that been there for? As far as since the Freeman Trail has been built and it ends right there, I guess my logic question is, how come that hasn't been bought by someone that wants to extend the trail?
I don't know why nobody's bought it. I mean, people use it right now as a trail. When we went down there to look at the trail, people were using it.
Yeah, as do myself and my family as well. I'm just
so it
curious
has
why,
been-
if it's just sitting there vacant, why hasn't something been done to?
I don't really know the answer to that question, but I do know people use it right now.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, Councilman Alonso?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was actually prepared to vote on this evening. I certainly respect the people that did speak in opposition, because I think their tone was that they're not really opposed. They think that there's a solution here. But I am a little troubled by the fact that if we do delay this, it's almost like we're holding the Jarvises up when they don't have any control over the negotiations the manager's going to have with this other abutter. So I'm really kind of mixed feelings about whether or not I'm going to support the delay. Like I said, I'm not sure it gives any additional leverage to the people who spoke in opposition, because it's really not something that the Jarvises control. And they have been a good company here for decades, and they do a lot of good, especially with the nonprofits in the community. So, again, I understand the spirit of the delay. I really, truly do. But at the end of the day, the Jarvises really don't have anything to say relative to that abutter, except they did say that they would cooperate, which I believe them to do, that they will. But I just feel like we're either holding them hostage, or blackmail's too strong a word, but at the end of the day, they don't control the Carb LLC, and I don't know who they are, and you obviously going to reach out to them tomorrow, but I just feel that we really could or should vote on this tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Just to give you a little more comfort zone, as I also represented to Attorney Nyman that I have a contact at Pan Am Railway that I will contact to inform them that we are negotiating with the abutter, and so don't hold it against the Jarvis that we're not holding up anything, but that we were just looking to get an accommodation, and that we're fully supportive of this proposal, but we just need the time, and just assure Pan Am that we're moving forward.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank the speakers that came down that spoke in favor of the bike trail. I've supported many initiatives, whether it's walkability or bike trails, throughout my tenure in the council. But here tonight, I am struggling. From what I can see, we have a family-owned business that's been in the city for 60 years, done everything right. And I'd have to agree with Councilman Milanazo. I believe strongly they're being held hostage here tonight. Okay? They've done everything right in that parcel. Now, I've walked that parcel this afternoon. Okay? It is extremely narrow. So we're asking the Jarvis family, who's been there and done everything right, to make a purchase for several $100,000, goes from a tax-exempt property to paying the commercial tax rate, which is double the residential, make improvements, make it brighter, make it safer, and we want 12 feet of it for an easement. Makes no sense to me. No sense to me. Okay? And by the way, that happens to be the most valuable 12 feet that they need to sell cars. That's what the Jarvis family does. They sell cars for a living. Okay? And that's why they want to acquire this property, to expand their business, the Volkswagen name, expand employees, okay, expand customers in the area, okay? And here we are setting a big, major roadblock in front of them, okay? I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all, okay? So I am prepared, like Councilman Milanazo, I am prepared to vote on this tonight, okay? And I believe the Jarvis family will still work with AvCobb right there. I believe we can still make this happen. And I would love to see this, and this is, don't forget, this connection to the Freeman Trail is a wish list item. There's no short-term plan. There's no long-term plan. There is no plan currently to connect. Would I love to see it? Absolutely. But am I willing to impede a business who's done everything right and stop their progress to do it? No. Okay, it's nothing my name is going to be attached to. Okay, so I am prepared to vote this evening and give the Jarvis family, they just deserve what they earned and earned in the city for a long, long time. That's the way I feel, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Council Roque, then Council Leary.
I think it's just a quick point. You know, if you're scheduled to buy a home or a piece of land and your closing date is December 18th, I mean, I don't know how much longer we can stick it out. You know, Mr. Manager knows a lot of pressure on you, but I mean, to take the points of Council Belanger and Malinazzo, you know, we would almost have to come back next Tuesday with a final verdict on what people are willing to help out as far as, you know, the other abutter. You know, if it goes out even to December, it's only 12 days before you're supposed to close on a property. And I mean, I don't know if there's any, you know, purchase and sale that's already been signed or ready to go. Or, I mean, usually when that happens, there's money up front you have to put forward. So, you know, I know that Council Leary asked Attorney Nyman what the drop dead date was. And I think what Council Nyman had said was they're supposed to go on to purchase on December 18th. So I don't know if we can go into December on this or not. But, and again, Mr. Manager, I know it's a lot of pressure on yourself and your team, but I think we'd have to have an answer by the latest next Tuesday so we can be ready to vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Leary.
And that's, excuse me, and that's, you know, the quicker the better. And that's, I think, the question that I asked specifically to Attorney Nyman is, when is your drop dead date? And if the date's earlier, Councilor Rook, it's a good point, then we should be getting it by next Tuesday. I want to see both sides get it. That's bottom line. I think both sides have significant value economically, and I think there's still that opportunity to do that. I don't know, and if maybe I misheard it, this is going to hold up anything for the Jarvis at this point in time. If I'm wrong, then I need to be corrected right now. But the way it was articulated to me, and if you can actually, if there's no interest or there's complications, and you bring it back next Tuesday on the agenda, then we'll vote it up or down then. So I don't see waiting till next Tuesday being a impediment or an obstruction or whatever vernacular you want to present to delay that. If it is, then please correct me, because that's not my intent. My intent, when Councilor Leahy and I put this forward as a motion, it was a progress of other motions that this body had worked on and obtained significant grants. I mean, over $1 million just for the Concord Greenway, which ultimately will lead to successful economic development. I can't tell you how many people I see on the Bruce Freeman Trail that want to get to downtown Lowell. So if I'm wrong with the dates, by all means, let's get this done next Tuesday. We can vote it up or down. Enough said to that. I think it's important. I respect all the views on it because it's an important business in the city that's been successful, that's a significant taxpayer, that has done everything to make this happen. And quite frankly, that easement that they're extending is quite generous, and I'm quite thankful for that. I think it's very thoughtful. It's a huge positive way to make this happen. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion to delay to a time no later than December 6th? Council Leahy, then Council.
Sure. I just wanted to add that, you know, I think by delaying it a week isn't going to hurt anybody. Gives us all a chance to be fair to both sides. As Council Leary said, you know, this is just a matter of timing. So we've been working on the trails and the paths, the Concord River Greenway, and then with the time of the Jarvis's purchase of this this Volkswagen dealership, it's just timing, and it just all came about. So I don't think one more week's going to really hurt anybody. It gives us a chance to really get our ducks in order, and gives the manager some time to use his expertise. So, and again, as we said, you know, if we have the information next week, we'll vote it.
Thank you, Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of points. With all due respect, Council Elliott is not here this evening. I'm sure he would like to chime in on this issue. But if you, Mr. Mayor, to you a question now. Is the public input session of this hearing all done? So
yes.
So the public will not be allowed to speak when this is continued, correct?
Well, I suppose
just for clarification.
The public hearing is closed.
Right, for clarification. Okay. Okay, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask, through you, I'd like to ask Phil Nyman to come to the podium again to see if he, under the time constraints they're under as it is, they've been given the runaround as it is. Under the time constraints they're under, I just wondering if that's acceptable to them to wait another week or two, if that's doable, while the manager negotiates with the neighboring business. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to hear from their attorney.
You're free to ask that question, Counsel. Attorney Nyman still here? Attorney Nyman? Go ahead, Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, through you to Attorney Nyman. Now, Councilor, would this delay be detrimental to this deal? While the manager sits and negotiates with the neighboring business and hopefully a good outcome, and that's what we're all hoping for. Is that detrimental to this expansion and to the deal that's everything that's on the table here?
If I could answer it this way, if we could be back here in 2 weeks, it would be better. But I am told that in 2 weeks, you people aren't meeting because it's Thanksgiving. And therefore, it would then end up at 3 weeks. I also have a lot of confidence in the city manager when he indicates that he may be able to help us out by contacting the railroad and getting us an extra week or so. Rather than have you people have difficulties amongst yourself, we'll fight as hard as we can to keep this going, and if it would make it better and more efficient for this board and for the manager to go with it, then we would go along with that. And I can't say it's going to kill us, but I think hopefully we'll be able to work it out. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, okay. So Mr. Mayor, through you to the city clerk, when is meeting? We have no meeting on the 29th, Mr. Clerk. When's our next?
We have a meeting next Tuesday.
I understand
We
that.
canceled the next meeting, and then we have a meeting after that. So we have a meeting in 1 week and a meeting in 3 weeks.
Okay, so the 3 week is suffice. It still would give, we're close, Mr. Nyman, but it's still doable.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, then I would support it for a positive outcome, but I am prepared to vote tonight in favor of the Jarvis family and the zoning amendment, and hopefully we get a positive outcome for the bicyclists. It'd be great to see. There's no two ways about it, but I'm not going to impede the growth of a business to do that. Again, not to be repetitive. So I think I will support the extension, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Mercy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it seems to me that we're all coming back here on Tuesday, December 6th, up or down. Is that right?
The motion
And that
reads,
gives the manager enough time to negotiate this. It gives the Jarvis family enough time to satisfy the Pan Am. So December 6th it is, right?
no later than December 6th.
Right. Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Councilman Menard.
Just quickly, I would ask Paul Marion and Jane Galvin and the folks that spoke tonight to make themselves available to you, Mr. Manager, in the event that you need their expertise talking to the our company. Okay, thank you.
Oh, Mr.
Any
Mayor.
further discussion?
Mr. Mayor? I'm
Council
sorry.
Belanger.
One quick point, Mr. Mayor. I just would recommend that, with being on the Board of Appeals, we have to make site visits to vote on public hearings and zoning changes and whatnot. So I would recommend to my council, my colleagues, that they do take a ride by and walk the parcel and see how narrow it is and see what a strong request, in essence, this is to ask the Jarvis family. I think you'd have a better understanding when you see the whole layout. To ask for a 12-foot easement is paramount. So I would just recommend that my colleagues, I know they always do the due diligence, but it would give them a much clearer understanding if they made a site visit to the parcel, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Attorney Nyman. Then we'll return to item 8.3, council motions. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Lay, request the city manager extend the yard waste pickup to this year if necessary. The second of the motion by Councilor Mercy. Discussion on the motion, Councilor.
Thank you. The motion speaks for
Leahy.
itself. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor? All opposed? So voted. Next is a motion by Council Leary. Request the city manager provide a preview of the new city government website before the Technology and Utility Subcommittee. Do we have a second to the motion? Second by Council Rourke.
Speaks for
Discussion on the
itself.
motion, Council. Motion speaks for itself. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a motion by Council Leary. Request the city manager provide an updated financial analysis regarding the effect of the new high school will have on debt service. The report should include a point-in-time analysis of prior school building projects that have recently been removed from the debt service. Seconded by Council Leahy. Council Leary.
Just really quick, this is already something we're going to be working on anyway. It's going to be imperative when we start to make decisions on what type of high school we're going to have, because it's going to come down to dollars and cents. The point-in-time part, and I know we've had offline discussions with the city manager and the CFO regarding looking at how other school buildings rolled off and how that affected the debt service. So I think, wait for that report. It'll be an interesting discussion, and it'll help us make intelligent decisions on what we're really going to be able to do and what the appetite would be for the council going forward financially.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is a very timely motion because we're reaching a critical point in the Lowell High School project. And one of the things we have to determine is what we are willing to spend to construct a new high school. And this report is going to give the City Council a good idea of what we have available and to fund how much we want to fund for a new high school. And I would just ask, next Tuesday, if the Finance Subcommittee could hear this, we'll have this report ready for next Tuesday and have it before the Finance Subcommittee next Tuesday to give a full presentation to the subcommittee and the city councilors so that we'll start to get some idea of what is out there and what we need to finance a new high school.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I mean, Councilor Elliott's the chairman of it, but I'm sure when he's back, that'd be a good idea. I think he'd be excited to do it. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the city clerk. Is that, or if subcommittee on that night? Great. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Leary. Request that the city manager work with the appropriate department in order to determine the feasibility of placing a four-way stop sign at the corner of Oak Street and Fort Hill Avenue. Seconded by Council Leahy. Discussion on the motion?
Just quickly, some neighbors were looking into that. There's other four-way stop signs in the same neighborhood, just looking to see if that makes sense to help improve the traffic in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Leary. Request the city manager review the feasibility for allowing payments of required license and permitting fees to be completed online. Seconded by Council Leahy. Council Leary.
Often, there's some things we're already doing, online taxes, et cetera. This is just a natural extension of what should happen, I think, in my opinion, but looking at that feasibility and how to implement it with the proper best practices. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. That concludes the agenda. Are there any announcements? Councilor Mercia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last night, we had the opportunity to go to the Lowell Memorial Auditorium to see all the improvements that took place there. We were invited by the trustees of the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, Spectra Venue Management, and the Julian Lenzi Group. They invited us to a restoration reception, and I must say that I was very, very impressed at the magnificent improved building at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. We have a motto in the city which is to maintain that which we own, and that is exactly what happened over there. New stage curtains, a new sound panel replacement that matched the reupholstered existing fixed seating, replacement of removable seating, refinished the auditorium floor, concourse floor replacement, new carpeting throughout the entire facility, interior painting, hot water tank replacement. And let me just say this, they capitalized on modern technology by installing 5 new modulating boilers. This upgrade has reduced the total gas consumption by over 45% in the first year. And they also seen a reduction in our electrical consumption by upgrading interior lighting and changing mechanical system pumps. These upgrades have reduced electrical usage by over 14%. So although we're spending money, we're saving money too. And I just wanted to say that if the public has an opportunity to go to a venue or an event at the auditorium, you will see the magnificent before and after improvements. I just had to brag about it because it is tremendous. I just wanted to say thank you to Keith Vasky, the general manager of the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, the Board of Trustees there under the leadership of Jim Moriarty. I'm telling you, the trustees did a magnificent job. They were all excited as if it was the birth of their child that had just been born. It was just amazing. I just want to say that our Diane Trad from the Planning Department, she did a superb job. She's the director of the Planning Department, and Todd Wokel, the construction manager, oversaw the whole thing. And you, Mr. Mayor, and the city manager were brilliant when you spoke and gave, I had to just say that. So I think it's important to tell the public that we do the best we can to maintain schools, to maintain auditoriums, and the veterans were very pleased. That building downtown at Kearney Square at East Merrimack Street, that is a veterans building. The Hall of Flags is tremendous with the new carpeting and the floor surface. It's just spectacular. So I invite everybody to take a look because they'll be very, very proud that we own it and we're not letting things get dilapidated and old. The painting and everything was tremendous, and I just had to brag about it. Good things are happening in the city of Lowell. We always hear about the bad things, and I sometimes myself bring notice to things that are bad, not to be a naysayer, but to correct things, and we have done that. So congratulations to everybody involved.
Thank you, Councilman Milanazo.
Did Council Mercy mean Jim O'Donnell as opposed to Jim
I'm
Moriarty?
sorry, Jim O'Donnell, I'm sorry, yes.
Just to give him his due.
You're right.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Jim O'Donnell.
Any further announcements? Council Rourke makes a motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All in favor, all opposed? Stand adjourned.
Jim O'Donnell, that's right.
There's no right after announcement.
No, I know, Yep.
Huh?
Send me a copy of that.